Would it theoretically be possible to trek all the way to Mount Everest Base Camp in tennis shoes? Well, the answer is yeah. Yeah, you probably could. Now, I've actually made the trek to Mount Everest Base Camp in my tennis shoes. And so I can tell you from experience it is possible. But first, let's see what it actually takes to make it to Everest Base Camp. So you want to trek to one of the natural wonders of the world, Mount Everest, the tallest mountain in the world? Let me tell you something, this was one of the coolest experiences I had ever had in my life. I mean, it was amazing. Ask anyone I know and they'll tell you I talk about this trip all the time. It seriously was amazing. Mount Everest just has this aura to it. It just attracts, it pulls you in. Like it calls to you. When you start the trek, you see Mount Everest and you go, I mean, it doesn't look too big, like you're so far away. It doesn't look that big, that grand. And as you get closer and closer and closer, you start to, it grows almost. I don't know how it works. Over 30 to 40,000 people visit every year to try and trek to Mount Everest Base Camp. Approximately 70% of the people that embark on this trek make it to Everest Base Camp, and less than 50% actually make it round trip. We embarked on our trek with kind of two main objectives. One was to see Mount Everest Base Camp, and two, to climb the mountain Imjitse. Imjitse is also referred to as Island Peak, if you've heard of it, and so that stands at about 20,000 feet, and supposedly is one of the easiest mountains over 6,000 meters that you can climb. Now, the trip itself starts you in Lukla. Some people start at the bottom of the hill, trek all the way up to Lukla, and go from there. But instead of doing all that trekking, you can take one of the most dangerous flights in the world, land at Lukla, which it was crazy. And I've never felt a plane shaking like that before, or seen a runway built onto a mountain. It was intimidating. Every seat had like 3 barf bags, and most people were using them. So depending on the route you want to take to get to Everest Base Camp, and certain guides offer different routes if you want to summit different mountains on the way there, it can take anywhere from 80 to 100 plus miles round trip. The duration of the trip obviously depends on your level of fitness, and it can take anywhere from a few days to around 15. Our group took about 7 to 8 days to reach Everest Base Camp, and one thing our guide did for us that was really helpful, and I guess not a lot of guides do, is we would trek to the various, lodges and little towns, little villages, I guess, along the Khumbu Valley. And we would stay there an extra night and hike up to one of the mountains and get up to 16, 17, 18,000 feet, and then come back down, sleep at a lower elevation, and then go up higher. And so he really helped us acclimatize to the increasing elevation, because the highest I had been previously was 14,000 feet. Now, the internet, if you just start Googling what the trail is like to get to Everest Base Camp, it will describe it like this. The roads can be rocky, uneven, and steep, including stairs that climb hundreds of feet at a time. But honestly, it's not that bad. It's really not that bad. It's a paved dirt path. Animals are on it. Obviously, tens of thousands of people visit every year. And so it is well worn, it is well carven into the mountains. It's really not that bad. If the trail to make it to Mount Everest Base Camp was at like 3,000 feet of elevation, it would be one of the most popular, it already is one of the most popular, but it would be extremely easy. And that leads us to our footwear discussion today. So we were in the Khumbu Valley for over 20 days. It was probably 25 days to be honest. And I did the entire thing in my tennis shoes. I made it from Lukla to Everest Base Camp. About 7 or 8 days, not a sweat. We summited multiple mountains and peaks and went over some passes, including, I think it was called the Kongmala Pass. It really wasn't that bad. Now, the only time I put on my boots and took my tennis shoes off was at around 19,000 feet when we were just about at the top of Imjitse, and we were getting ready to put our crampons on and get ready to summit that. Now let's talk specifically about the shoes I wore. I wore these Adidas shoes. They don't even have shoelaces. Okay, there's no grip anymore. This is actually the exact pair that I wore on the trip, and I found them stashed in my bin, and that's kind of what prompted this video. But they've got holes in them, the insides are all torn up. Very basic Adidas shoes. But really what factors into me saying you can complete this trek in your tennis shoes is I'm used to it. I'm a rock climber, I do a lot of canyoneering, And I've summited a decent amount of peaks in my days, you know, in my 26 years of life. And I pretty much just do that in my tennis shoes. So I'm used to it. I'm used to some pretty intense scrambles. Obviously rock climbing itself, I don't do in my tennis shoes. I actually do barefoot. Or I know a lot of people use shoes that are a lot nicer than this, and they're still, you know, tennis shoes or approach shoes or trail running shoes or whatever. But if you're used to it, I mean, in terms of terrain, it was extremely easy. But if you're someone who hasn't done a lot of that, you haven't done a lot of hiking, and when you go hiking, you need your boots and you need your ankle support and things like that, you probably wouldn't want to do it in your tennis shoes. I would do what you're comfortable with, honestly. You know, don't watch this video and go, oh, well, he did it in his tennis shoes. I can if you have no hiking experience, no previous. You see what I'm saying? Does that make sense?
Your tennis shoes hold pretty good, man.
Yeah, they're doing pretty good. This is a lot of fun in the tennis shoes too. Coming down the loose rock, the dirt, steep hills.
Yeah, Adidas commercial.
I know, Adidas. Y'all need a new spokesperson since you dropped Kanye. It's my turn. Sponsor me, send me these shoes. But I'm a big proponent on doing what you're comfortable with and doing what you're used to, especially on a trip like this. Let me say something as well. The porters that are gonna be on your teams that are helping you are basically doing the trek in Crocs. And the shoes are probably not even as nice as Crocs. They were telling me I was like a mountain goat because I had these shoes, and they looked like slippers, so they looked worse than they probably are. And I'm looking right back at them going, you're basically doing this barefoot. And the porters are carrying all of our gear. Like, those dudes were superhuman. They were awesome. And I don't know if you've ever seen how they carry the gear, but they have a basket and then they tie some fabric on it and just put it on their head. And they load the weight on their spine and they just trek up these things. And these aren't very big guys. Like, these are smaller men. I even tried to carry their packs and they are heavy. They're heavy. And just knowing they did all that in shoes that were worse than mine, I mean, it's incredible. It's a superhuman feat.
Video.
A hair up on the head, I think.
All right, that's pretty heavy. That's pretty heavy. It's not. Don't. Oh, we're tipping. It's awkward. It's like.
It's.
Hang on.
Hey, get a picture.
And we tipped them very well, let me tell you, because they deserved it and they earned it. And the guides were even crazier. When we got to the top of Mount and we're standing at 20,000 feet, it was amazing. You get to the top of this peak and you got China on one side, you got Nepal on the other side, just the Himalayas outstretched before you. All of us Americans are sitting there like, just dying. Like, we were absolutely dying. One of the guides gets up there, lights up a cigarette, smokes a cigarette. None of us can breathe. We're at 20,000 feet and he is just chilling. He's just chilling, smoking a cigarette, doing his thing. At that moment, I realized the gap, the disparity in cardiovascular and fitness level between us and the guides. And it was a very humbling experience, and I do not like to be humbled. But that time, I did enjoy it. And I got a few pics of him because he was cool. So, can you hike to Mount Everest Base Camp in your tennis shoes? Yeah, you absolutely can. You don't have to go all out on the footwear. And if your goal is just to make it to Everest Base Camp and explore the Khumbu Valley and stay at the tea houses and, you know, take your time and relax, you definitely don't have to go all out on hiking wear. But the whole trip, from the food, the people, the culture, to the trekking, the hiking, the climbing, to everything we did, it was a 10 out of 10 experience. It really was. And some of you know how much I hate to call things a 10 out of 10 experience, but I would definitely do this again. In fact, I do want to climb Mount Everest one day, and so this was a good preparation trip. But obviously don't take this video as gospel. If you like hiking in your hiking boots, then please do so. Please make sure you train well if you're going to do it. But if you would like to see some vlogs, some really cute vlogs of my trip going to Everest Base Camp and then climbing Imjitse, I have 2 vlogs out that kind of show the entire story. They're pretty long, but you get a really good feel as to what it was actually like. And I will put them in the description. I'll put them on the video. You know, you'll find them. Anyways, go give them a watch. If you have any questions, please put them in the comments. I do have some connections out in Nepal if you need help connecting to agencies and people to do this with, or if you just want tips and tricks, or if you want to make fun of me, I mean, that's fine too. put it in the comments. It'll boost engagement and definitely not break my heart. It's fine. Thank you for watching, everyone. Thank you so much. We'll see you on the next one.